No one survived the Sandstorm test, except a human who slept inside a giant cactus. The Kepler 442b colony had been operating for 4 years without a single fatality. Dr. James Reeves intended to change that statistic. The survival exam was designed to be impossible. 12 candidates, 72 hours in the Meridian Desert, no equipment beyond basic water rations. The theoretical survival rate was 12%. The actual survival rate across 3 previous cohorts was 0. Kepler 442b's desert was nothing like Earth's. The sand was iron oxide rich, magnetic, prone to spontaneous adhesion. The wind patterns were unpredictable, driven by thermodynamics that Earth's models couldn't predict. A sandstorm on this planet didn't just reduce visibility. It actively abraded exposed skin, clogged lungs, or particulate matter dense enough to cause suffocation within hours. Marcus Chun had lasted 43 hours before his respiratory system failed. The others had folded faster. Elena Vasquez made it to hour 51. The storm hit on the second night. Sudden and absolute. Visibility dropped to 0. The magnetic sand began accumulating on exposed metal, on skin, in hair. The survivors huddled in whatever shelter they constructed. Rock overhangs, shallow depressions, desperate holes dug into the ground. None of it mattered. By dawn, 11 bodies lay scattered across the desert floor, their lungs packed with iron oxide paste, their skin abraded raw. The rescue team found them methodically, loading corpses onto the medical transport with clinical efficiency. They didn't find David Okonkwo until the secondary search, 2 kilometers from the designated zone. He was alive, more than alive. He was calm, hydrated, and emerging from the interior cavity of a massive cactus analog that the botanists had designated Sirius giganteus keplerus. The plant stood 4 meters high, its exterior surface scarred by decades of wind erosion. Its interior was hollow, protected, a natural shelter that none of the candidates had apparently considered. The debrief happened in a sterile medical observation room. David sat on the examination table, sensors monitoring his vitals. Everything was normal, blood pressure steady, oxygen saturation perfect, no signs of respiratory damage. Walk me through your decisions. Dr. Reeves said he designed this test. He'd expected bodies. He'd gotten an anomaly. I spent the first day exploring, David said calmly. Most of the others started digging or finding rock. I was looking at the plants. Why? Because plants don't live in hostile environments by accident. They adapt. They find solutions. David gestured vaguely. There's a cactus-type organism about 2 kilometers northeast. Large. Hollow. I tested the interior air quality during the afternoon. It was breathable. Better than breathable. The plant's gas exchange was actually producing oxygen faster than the storm was introducing contaminants. Reeves felt something shift in his understanding of the test. You understood the physics of plant respiration. I understood that everything alive here has already solved the problem I was facing. David said, I just needed to copy the solution. Why didn't you share this discovery with the other candidates? David's expression didn't change. They didn't ask, and I was operating on limited information. I wasn't sure the cactus shelter would work until I was inside it. If I'd suggested it and it failed, I'd have felt responsible. The answer was honest enough to be disturbing. Reeves pulled up the vitals from the other candidates. Their final moments captured by the biomonitors they'd all been required to wear. Panic, desperation, the physiological signature of slow asphyxiation. 11 people had died trying to create shelter through effort rather than observation. 1 person had survived by paying attention. The test is designed to eliminate candidates who can't handle extreme stress. Reeves said carefully. I understand, David replied, but the test assumes humans should compete with the environment. I competed with my own assumptions instead. Over the next 3 weeks, the psychological evaluations came back clean. David Okonkwo was stable, emotionally intelligent, cognitively sound. He passed every follow-up assessment. There was no reason to disqualify him. But Reeves couldn't stop thinking about the 11 bodies, about the methodical way they tried to solve the problem through force rather than understanding. He'd built a test meant to identify the strongest survivors. Instead, it had identified something else entirely, the person willing to question whether survival required strength at all. On the day David received his official certification as a colonial specialist, Reeves found him in the botanical gardens, studying the plants. "Would you design the test differently?" Reeves asked. David considered this carefully. "I'd include a botanist on the next cohort. Someone who thinks like the desert thinks. Someone who knows that sometimes the answer to impossible odds is to stop fighting and find shelter inside something alive." Reeves realized then that the colony's survival didn't depend on eliminating the weakest. It depended on including the ones who understood that wisdom was sometimes just paying attention to what was already working. The next cohort survival rate was 47%,